everybody's here because they want to learn how your body heals. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Okay. So everything I'm going to be sharing with you today is based on everything that I have learned personally from my own experiences, from my own mentors, from working with clients and all those things. So if something doesn't resonate with you, that's totally fine, because in this world there is no right or there's no wrong. So it's just up to whatever your personal perception is. So if something doesn't resonate with you, just leave it. Don't worry about it. It's not for you. So the way that I personally heal is just being in my space with my aura. The energy that comes from my being helps to heal other people. So that loving energy that's coming from me is helping to heal you. Also, when we speak, if you are a healer and you have healing capabilities in your voice, you actually, when you're speaking, you are healing people. So what happens is when I speak and I say something to you and it resonates with you and it brings something up into your memory, that is, it's activating something inside your DNA and it's actually healing you. And then also, being an energy healer, doing Reiki, I channel energy through my hands. So those are the ways that I personally heal, is through my voice, through my being, and then channeling through my hands. Okay? And also, who here, so Julie's a chiropractor, Cindy's a chiropractor, is anybody else in sort of that service industry here? Yeah, totally.
Kind of, I guess.
I guess I am. I save lives, but no big deal. So everybody that you encounter in this service industry, they're all healers. So when you come and you see Julia and you see Cindy and you get treatments, they're healing you because they are giving you their love while they're doing their treatment, and that's activating healing inside of you. So it's not even just the manual movement of adjusting the spine. It's like their energy is also healing you as well. Yeah. The big secret about healing, love is what heals everything. That's it. You guys could seriously just go home right now. That's easy. But us being humans, we make it so complicated. If we can just be in a state of love all the time, our bodies will just heal innately. That's what they were born to do. So when we came here, when we were born, when we are incarnated, if you believe that, we were pure love. We were 100% love. And then what happens is we are born into a family where your parents and whoever brought you up were not love anymore. Because what happens is after you're born, and then up to about age 7, we pick up stuff that's around us. We're like sponges. We don't have a conscious mind yet, and our subconscious mind takes in all the information around us, and we pick up beliefs, we pick up patterns, we pick up habits from the people who are raising us. I'm not saying they did a bad job or anything like that. They did the best that they could, of course. And so what happens is you're a baby, you're pure love, then you don't know that you are pure love, and you start picking up these habits from your family to try to be accepted and lovable. We try to conform to the way that the rest of society is, and then what happens when we pick up all those things is we become unlovable. So that is the beginning of our journey, is to go back to remembering that we are pure love at our core, and that everything that we've picked up is just a belief. It's like programming. If you were to think of yourself as a computer, you go and you buy a computer and there's nothing on it, and you go and you install all these programs. That's exactly what happens to you when you're a child. Okay? So that is the journey of life, and that is the healing journey, is waking up to remembering who you are and removing all of the programming that you picked up from childhood. does anybody have any questions on that? Yeah.
The programming goes after childhood too, doesn't it? Like you still pick up stuff after the age of 7.
You can, but it's gonna be attached to something that happened at childhood. So like, we'll dive into like emotions and stuff like that too, but like you've had these beliefs and these patternings are imprinted on you from the people that are raising you. And then at some point in your life, there's gonna be a trigger that's gonna bring it out. So maybe the trigger didn't happen until after age 7, but it was already like programmed in you. Does that make sense? Yeah? Cool. So, any other questions? No? Okay. So my story actually begins here. Isn't that funny?
No.
No, it's not. she's like, this is meant to be.
Yeah.
So my story actually begins just a little bit before I was here getting into becoming a personal trainer, but I worked with Dave, trained Jordan back in the day, so that was like my thing as I was personal training, got into CrossFit, opened my own gym, and that was my passion, is to really help people see what their body was capable of doing. So if you got, who's heard of CrossFit before? Okay, everybody, yeah, awesome. So it's about like pushing the boundaries and really seeing what you're capable of. So that was my passion, was to really help people to like see what they could do. Like so many people would have come in the gym and be like, I could never do a pull-up. And you get them doing a pull-up and it was like, wow, that was so incredible. Getting people like, I'm not gonna touch a barbell, I'm not gonna do any Olympic lifting. Does he lift?
I used to.
Yeah. And yeah, so getting people to do what they, never thought was possible. So that was absolutely amazing. And then what happened, I was very I don't know how to explain this. One track mind, like body was everything. So it's like, okay, if you eat healthy, you take your supplements, you work out, you're gonna be healthy, you're gonna heal, you're gonna have an amazing life. And so what happened is, here's me, a trainer and doing everything right. I would say probably like 90% of the time. And throughout my life, I was not the healthiest child. I didn't have like any like diseases or anything like that come up, but I was just like picking up every cold all of the time. And then same thing even when I was, doing personal training and really focusing on my nutrition and counting all my macros and taking all my supplements and following the prescription of exactly how you should work out. Well, one point my body just completely shut down on me and I couldn't work out anymore. Like I would do a workout and my body just wouldn't recover. It would be like 2 weeks later and I still wasn't recovering for a workout. I was like, okay, something's not right. So I went to the doctor, test after test after test. Nothing wrong with you, nothing wrong with you, nothing wrong with you. Okay. Tons of like excruciating stomach pains, anxiety through the roof. And then I went to a naturopath and they're like, let's go get your hormones tested. And my hormones were like totally out of whack, right? So supplements after supplements after supplements, still not fixing the problem. It was probably more just putting Band-Aid on there and just kind of keeping me at a decent level where I could continue to work and live my life. But it wasn't fully healing me. Does anybody resonate with this story at all? Yeah? Body gets us messages all the time. We should stop working out and doing CrossFit. Maybe we should like meditate and do yoga or something differently. But I was not listening to my body. I wasn't listening what it wanted me to do. And I continued to push it and push it and push it and push it. Fast forward to, I guess, just over 3 years ago from now, I had a really bad back injury. I was doing a deadlift, moderate weight, and my back just went out on me. I was like, okay, well, what is this? And healed myself, went back into working out. and then I got a concussion. This, I don't know how much you guys believe in just the universe is so powerful and it's trying to get your attention all the time with synchronicities and signs and all of that. Anybody agree with that? Yeah? So I was out for a girls' weekend, and just in the back of my hatchback of my SUV, it was very windy out. The wind pushed my hatchback door on my head and gave me a concussion. So that was the start of my brain injury there. So that was 3 years ago. She was like, yeah. So this was a sign from the universe. Okay, you are not listening. You are not listening. You need to stop. You need to take a break. So I'm going to give you a concussion so that you can't actually function. So this is usually what happens in life when we're not listening to our bodies and we're not getting the messages, whether it be concussion, whether it be getting a disease like cancer or something like that, like anything just to take you out so you're actually starting to listen to your body. So from there, it opened me up to a whole new world. So it was like, okay, well, I'm stuck in my bedroom, I can't do anything. Well, I just, as soon as I could start going online and reading again, I started learning as much as I could and understanding now that when certain things happen in our bodies, it's messages from our soul. So if you think of your body actually as a vehicle, and you're here just to experience life, and your soul is communicating with you through your body. And it's giving you messages to try to get you back into alignment of where you're meant to go in your life. Okay, so I'm on this path of a personal trainer and I'm helping people, and that's absolutely amazing. I hit a point where I wasn't so passionate about it anymore, but I just kept pushing and kept doing the same thing. Now go and have the brain injury, which takes me out of that. Now I'm stepping into alignment in a different way. You guys see kind of how that works? Yeah? So then it's like something happens and it awakens you to like, okay, this is not working, because literally you're in autopilot the rest of your life, and there's only one way. You only know is like, just keep going, just survive, right? Like we live from our subconscious mind 90% of the time. So only 10%. Did you have a question? No, okay. Only 10% of the time we're like actually conscious. So it took, this meditation for you to wake up and be like, oh, okay, things can actually be different, right? It took me to get hit over the head, almost like fully knocked out, to be like, okay, things can actually change, right? And if we listen sooner, then these things don't actually need to happen. But most people are just so stuck in like, get up, have breakfast, go to work, come home, have dinner, watch TV, go to bed. Not that that's everyone's lifestyle, but that's a pretty common lifestyle for people, and you're just on autopilot. Like you're not even living and experiencing your life, right? So what I realized, obviously, is that the body is not the only answer. So I did all of the things to try to keep my body healthy so I could be healthy, with the result of still not being healthy. And what I discovered, the first discovery I had, was how powerful the mind is, and that our body is always listening. So whatever you say here or you speak out, your body is listening, and it is creating exactly what you say. We are such powerful creators, and we don't even realize it. So if you're only conscious 10% of the time and knowing what's actually going on in your brain, think of all the stuff that's actually going on 90% of the time that you're telling your body. Does this make sense? Yeah. So what I had realized is that I was making myself wrong all the time. I was shaming my body, and I don't mean like shaming it like, oh, I don't have the stomach I want or this or that, but I was shaming it in the way that you're not doing the things that I want you to do, so then I would tell my body it was wrong. Years and years and years ago, before epigenetics came around, people thought that if you were born into a family and there was certain diseases, certain genes that were in your system, that you were going to just get those diseases, right? Like it's hereditary, that's just the way it is. People are now talking about that, well, why are we a victim of our genes? Why can't we create our life? Why can't we create our health? Why do we have to get this just because our parents had that? Does anybody want to be a victim of their genes? No, no. So, understanding, first of all, like take your power back. You don't have to have those same genetics that your parents had, right? And that their parents had, and then their parents had. So if you look back at hereditary things, they go back through generations, right? You know what else goes back through generations? Beliefs. They go back generation upon generation, okay? So you learning this today is you being able to stop that and say, no, like, I don't want to have those same beliefs. I'm going to shift and change those, and I'm going to create my own reality. I'm going to create my own health. Does that make sense? Yeah. It goes really, really deep because you got to think how heavily programmed you were from childhood. And you know, like you hear people say like, oh, well, I don't want to be like my parent. And then you end up being like a parent. Let's talk about the things that you don't want of your parent. Like obviously they have a lot of positive qualities as well. But then you end up being your parent and you're like, well, I was trying not to be my parent, and then I ended up being my parent, because these things are embedded, they're encoded in your DNA, and it takes you waking up to realize that these beliefs are not yours, and you don't have to keep them, and you can just let them go. Does anybody have any questions? No? Okay. All right. So, diving into emotions. So, same thing, emotions. Before age 7, you experienced a whole array of emotions. And so when society has us suppress our emotions. Like if you think back to childhood, oh, don't get angry, don't speak up. Like your parents want you to be quiet as a child and to not express your emotions. So what happens is we actually suppress them. And when we suppress it and not express it, it actually gets implanted in our bodies. So if you're to think about all the emotions that you experienced in your whole life, if they were held in your brain still, your brain would not actually be able to function properly. So what happens is the brain is very smart, and it implants it into your body if you don't express it. So over time, you have layer upon layer upon layer of all these emotions that are trapped in your body. And if you don't express them, that's when diseases come out. Dis-ease. So your body is in dis-ease when you have all of these suppressed emotions trapped in your body. And so back it up. So the emotion occurs, and usually it occurs because you experienced something in your life. You experienced a trauma if it was a negative emotion. And then what happens is we attach this emotion to this event, and it creates a neurological pathway. So that when that trigger comes up again, that emotion automatically is expressed. So everything you're experiencing right now in your emotions is actually the child version of you. It's bringing that child back out. So if you can think the last time you got angry, and maybe, I don't know if anybody has thrown a tantrum at all, or wanted to throw a tantrum, and then you think about it, okay, that was like the 2-year-old version of me, like, oh, I remember when I used to throw tantrums when I didn't get what I wanted or whatever. It's just that neurological pathway, bless you, that's resurfacing. And so when we get these triggers come out, it's actually giving you an opportunity to pull that emotion out of your body, release that charge, Because when the trigger comes up, the emotion is charged. And if you just ignore it and you're like, I don't want to express it, you suppress it again. And then over time, it's causing disease in your body. Does that make sense? Yeah? Does anybody have any questions on that? I know it's pretty deep stuff.
Well, I was texting my girlfriend yesterday because, and when you're saying that, the different triggers, so this is a friend of mine that I haven't seen in quite some time, and I'm finally going to get a chance to see her, and we used to love, you guys know Rick Astley? Never give you up. So I heard the song, made me think of her, and then it made me start to cry. I mean, it was just like, oh, I was thinking of my girlfriend, and so like those different triggers for me, so like music or like smell or like taste, or so that's what I'm relating what you're saying to as well.
Totally.
Emotions.
Yeah, so as Julie is saying, like it can be any of the senses, right? It can be what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste is gonna bring back these emotions from childhood. And getting out of the place of that these are negative things, these are bad things, you want to see them as a gift. It's your body bringing it up and saying, okay, here's this emotion, you didn't deal with it in the past, you didn't deal with it the last time you were triggered by it, let's deal with it now. And when you do that, you create space in your body, you create love. From one end, because you're releasing the emotion that's trapped inside of you, and you're releasing it from the core, if you're allowing yourself to. And also, you're loving yourself and you're loving the emotion, because if we see an emotion as a negative thing, we're experiencing the emotion, that is us not loving ourselves. We're making ourselves wrong, we're shaming ourselves for feeling these emotions. Does that make sense? So it's taking you out of that loving state. So if you were to think about emotions, emotions are just chemical reactions in our body. That's all they are. And for us women, when we're hormonal, more comes up because of all the chemical reactions that are going on in your body, right? It's what we attach to the emotion that changes things for us. If we can just be with the emotion, it will pass very quickly. But when we go and we pull that old story back into it, now we're resisting it and we're wanting to suppress it because that story makes the emotion not feel good. Okay, so if there's no right or wrong in the world, there should be no negative emotions and no positive emotions. They should just be emotions. They should be equal, exactly. Yeah, but we live in a very dualistic world, so something has to be good, something has to be bad, something has to be right, something has to be wrong, something has to be masculine, something has to be feminine, right? So we just want to love it all no matter what it is, and just see everything that arises as a gift. We want to love everything and see it as like a lesson. How can I expand? How can I grow? How can I come back to who I am in my core? So the great thing with all these like beliefs and patternings, they're just neurological pathways that we can rewire. And all it takes is love to rewire it. All it takes is just doing something different. Recognizing in the moment what's going on, accepting it, right? When we accept it, we're not in resistance and we just let it be. And we can choose differently in that moment to something else. Because you are the creator of your thoughts, right? So you're the one who's hurting yourself by still thinking on those same loops and those same pathways. The other day I woke up, lately I've been waking up between 5 and 6 in the morning and my brain is just going a mile a minute and I'm like, what is going on? And the thoughts that have been coming up might not always be positive. And I realized the other day, I'm actually abusing myself with these thoughts because I keep thinking the same thoughts over and over and over again. So if you can go and step into a loving space and just accept these thoughts, be like, okay, let's now think positive thoughts. Let's think more loving thoughts. Let's stop abusing ourselves with our minds. Can anybody resonate with that? Yeah. we are our own worst critics. We are our own worst enemies with what goes on in our brain. So then spirit. So I believe that we come here to learn certain lessons, that we are born into specific families so we can learn certain things. I don't know if this resonates with you, and if it doesn't, then just, let it go. You don't have to believe this. And if we're not learning our lessons, we're not in alignment with our soul. And so when we're not in alignment with our soul, then we're not in a loving space. So things come up, like these triggers come up, events come up for us to learn specific things about ourselves and about life in general. And then when we don't learn them, they're going to keep recycling over and over and over again. Relationships are usually the best way to see this. Because you are so intimate with the partner that you're with, you are literally like a mirror, and they are showing you the things that you need to heal inside of you, and they're showing vice versa, right? And so if you're not learning those things from your partner, and let's say maybe you were disrespected in your relationship, or sometimes people are abused in their relationships, if you don't learn these things, you're going to attract someone else that is going to do the same thing, bring out the same things in you, but it's going to look different because it's a different person. Does that make sense? Yeah. Can anybody look through their life and see certain scenarios that kept repeating over and over and over again? Yeah. Yeah, totally. Does anybody want to share anything? I know it's a little bit deep, but yeah.
Well, I'm just hearing what you're touching base on, and I know that a lot of people aren't in partnerships, right? The way I see it is I see everybody in my life, whether it be coworkers, whether it be friends, whether it be family members, or the relationships that I'm in. And you end up seeing that loop and that pattern and the people that you're attracting and all that. And once you find that loop and you stop it, then you're going to realize that you're going to start attracting different people. You're going to attract the people that you actually love and that you want and that are actually going to nourish you and all that. So I'm just hearing what you're saying with the relationships, and I just totally brought it, just go super deep into your family and friends and coworkers and all that kind of stuff.
The same thing like she was saying, that or I'd go to a party and man, that person just really annoys me. And then I have to look at myself. It was something I didn't like in myself that resonated. So instead of getting angry, I learned to be more patient with myself and other people. Because usually people who trigger me is because it's something myself that I need to work on.
Yeah,
So,
amazing. Thank you.
More patient.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, what's your name?
Deanna.
Deanna?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what Deanna said there, everything in the world is here for us to pull these emotions out, pull these triggers out, remove this programming, remove this belief. So when someone triggers you when you're out, say thank you, and not being a victim of it, right? Not being like, oh, that person really pissed me off or whatever. Being like, okay, what is that person showing me about me? Where am I not loving myself? Judgment is a great thing. So when you're judging someone else, it's like, okay, why am I judging that? Usually you're judging it because you have that same thing inside of you that you don't like personally. Everything is a mirror. Yeah, thank you. So bringing it all together, to keep it really, really simple, we come here to learn lessons. That's what I believe. And we're born into a family. We're pure love. We make ourselves not pure love by we try to fit in, taking on all the beliefs and all the programming from our parents or whoever is raising us. We have experiences, we experience emotions, we attach the emotion to the event, we suppress it. So now we have all of these things inside of us. So if we can start to remove the layers of the programming, start to express our emotions, and start to get more in alignment with our soul and even just start listening and accepting ourselves for exactly the way we are, then the body can start to get into a space to actually heal. Do you see how all parts kind of work together and where you can't just work on one? So working on your physical body and getting treatments like chiro and massage and acupuncture and all those things are absolutely amazing. But what happens is when you get a treatment, and from me as well, like energy healing, the trauma and the emotions that are trapped in your body will come to your conscious mind, because all of this is trapped in your subconscious mind, which 90% of the time we're not conscious, so we don't know these things are going on, right? Like Jordan just said there, like it took some time with working through it to find out what was the thing that was actually attached to what she was experiencing. So when you have these treatments done, it brings stuff to your conscious mind for you to work through. And like even just being here right now, like there's things that are probably popping up into your head that you're thinking about in your own life. And that's your soul saying like, okay, it's ready for us to heal this. It's ready for us to clear this. But because we are used to society having us suppress everything, it'll come up into your mind and you'll be like, oh, I'm not going to worry about this right now. And then you just push it back down again. And so you can keep coming in and you can get energy healing sessions, you can get chiropractor sessions, you can go to acupuncture, but it's just going to be maintenance if you keep suppressing the stuff that comes up. Okay, so everything that you're trying to heal has something attached to it from the past that has caused disease, dis-ease in your body. Okay, so even just taking this nugget so that you know next time you go and get some session done and something comes into your mind, it's your body telling you, okay, there's something attached to that that we need to work through and we need to release. Whether it be like a belief from childhood that was imprinted, from your parents, whether it was a trauma that happened in childhood, any of those things, it's like, okay, it needs to be loved now and it needs to be accepted. And when you can love it and you can be with it, it will literally disappear. What happens is we get attached to whatever the thing is, whatever the belief is, and we're not willing to let it go because it's serving us in some sort of way. So I'm going to give you a pretty vulnerable example. So when I went from personal training, then I had my injury, and then I wasn't working, had everybody tell me, well, you should just go on disability, because I was having these migraines and headaches every single day. Like, there's no way I could go work anywhere, because I was like, well, I'd be calling in sick like every single day. So I should probably just go on, disability, so it gives me some money so that I can really focus on my healing. And it got to the point where I was like, no, I don't want to live this story anymore. I don't want to live with this, I have post-concussion syndrome. I don't want to live with, I have this brain injury. And so what I was getting from that was not having to work, not having to step into the next experience in my life, which is what I'm doing right now. And the more I held on to that story, I kept recreating these headaches, these migraines, this dizziness, this fatigue, and all of these things where I wasn't able to work. So it was serving me in a way that, well, if I applied for disability, then I don't have to really get a full-time job to take care of myself. And if I stay in this story, then I don't have to step into this scary space of recreating my whole self from the ground up, right? Do you guys see what I'm saying here? Yeah, so not sure if that resonates with anyone where, it might not be that much like your whole life wrapped up in it, but there could be little segments where, you're staying in a relationship, or you're not speaking your truth, or you're holding on to some ailment in your body because it's serving you in some way. The other part of it for me, which once I released that and said, I am not playing this game anymore, my headaches and migraines decreased so much. And I get maybe 1 or 2 a month versus they were every single day. Also, your body's listening to everything that you say. So if I keep telling myself I get migraines every single day, guess what? I get migraines every single day. If I tell myself that I have post-concussion syndrome, guess what? I have post-concussion syndrome. Do you see what I'm saying? Your cells are listening all of the time. And it's just waking up to that, you know, just like little things. Like the other day, someone's like touched my hands and like, oh, your hands are cold. I'm like, I'm always cold. And I keep catching myself saying that over and over again. I'm like, well, I'm just recreating my body being cold all the time now because I'm telling my body I'm cold. You know, just like little things like that. Just start catching yourself, these things that you're saying. Does anybody have any little stories of things that they've noticed that they say all the time about themselves they want to share?
I do that, I'm always cold.
Deanna can have a good laugh at this one. So I'm always clumsy, and we literally had a nice big talk yesterday that got pretty deep, and I was suppressing a lot, and I literally took a fall down her stairs and got to go, well, I'm always clumsy, and she went, stop, and I went, oh yeah. So literally, like, I'm covered in bruises because I was always clumsy, but I'm not always clumsy.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And same thing with me. I hit my head once, not just once. Over 2 years, I hit my head 6 times because it was like, oh, I don't know where my head is, and I have post-concussion syndrome. I've had a brain injury, so I continue to keep hitting my head to stay in that story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Love is a frequency. That's all it is. So everything in the world has a frequency. Emotions have a frequency. People have a frequency. Food has a frequency. Sound has a frequency. Colors have a frequency. Everything is energy and it has a frequency. The frequency of love is 500. And so for you to heal, you need to be in a frequency of 500. Whether it just be you think loving thoughts or feel loving feelings or do things that you love to kind of shift you into that space, that's great. That doesn't always stay, right? It might just last for those couple minutes. So it's a matter of pulling these emotions and beliefs that are below that 500. So I have a chart that would be up there, but it shows you what each emotion is. Fear, anxiety, shame, blame, guilt, all of those things have a frequency, and they're all under, I think, 100. Very, very low frequency. So when you are being triggered with those emotions, when you suppress them, you're just pushing that low frequency energy back in you, and you're not actually shifting into a higher frequency where you can heal. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Are you making a connection between suppressing emotions or thoughts to increasing body stress, which in turn is leading to physiological responses within the body because of those suppressed thoughts or emotions, because of the stress they're generating?
Yeah, you could explain it that way for sure. Yeah, because those low frequency emotions, because all the stories attached to them, they're going to create stress in your body, right? And then that stress is going to wreak havoc inside your body, right? I mean, we don't need to dive into what stress does. I think everybody knows how bad stress is on your body, right? I mean, there's good stress and there's bad stress. One thing that I am actually learning, and this will be really good for you, Jordan, is that stress is stress, and we've got our nervous system, right? So when we're stressed, that takes us into our sympathetic nervous system, right? We get into that fight or flight or freeze. And even if you're working out and you're creating stress, that's still good stress, but you still need to bring that nervous system back down. So being, like a CrossFit athlete where, you were going and doing these high intensity workouts over and over and over again, and it's putting you into that sympathetic nervous system while you work out, which, it has its benefits 100%, but then if you continue living your lifestyle that way, your body is not in a state of love, it's not in a space that it can heal. when you are in sympathetic dominance and you're have like PTSD or any of these things, your body can't heal. And so probably what happened with Jordan is as she was working through these things that were traumatic for her, it was lowering her nervous system and it was bringing it back into the parasympathetic, where she could actually like rest and recover and heal.
But I think what the thing is with the sympathetic nervous system is it's not sustainable to always be there, and I think something has to give, and I think that's why I ended up with my hives, because it's
Yeah.
not sustainable to be at that level all the time.
Yeah.
But I wasn't recognizing that. And so
Totally.
my body took over and was like, girl, let me do it for you.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's exactly what happened to me with, you know, my hormones going out of whack, having a back injury, then getting hit over the head, like the body knows how to stop you when you're going too hard and you need to stop, right? And we live in a society where it's go, 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 go. Like you gotta think, like every time your phone lights up, you know, people are like on their phone right away, responding to people, responding to emails on social media, trying to get more things done in a day. That's just living in that like sympathetic nervous system all the time. And you know, you go home and it's like, okay, can I just like lie there and be with myself? No, I need to be on my phone and I need to be looking things up, or I need to be watching TV or listening to something. Like we forgot how to just actually be with ourselves. And then we're ignoring ourselves, and that means, you know, like if you think like being in any type of relationship, if you just ignored your partner all the time, how would they feel? Some people who've been married for a long time, maybe they would like that, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like if you're ignoring the person you're with all the time, they're gonna be like, I don't think that they love me.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. If you're ignoring your body all the time, it's like, okay, you don't love me. And we've lost that connection with ourselves. So we can't actually heal ourselves until we can come back to that self-love, right? And that's it. And today is such a step for everybody, and just hearing this information and just thinking about it and, you know, acknowledging what's going on for you and accepting it.
I think teaching, like I teach my kids, because I used to serve in restaurants all the time, so you're giving.
Yeah.
And I just say, you leave me alone for 20 minutes or the answer is no. Like I have to bring back and get me back, because I've been in my work mode all day.
Yeah.
So I did, you know, they used to still bark in the room, so I'd be like, no. And then they finally clicked in that they would get a yes when they realized that I needed to come in mom mode, Deanna mode, not work mode anymore.
Totally, because you're in that sympathetic dominance and you're like, I'm probably gonna lose it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be nice to you. Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of it too, like where we expect people to get back to us right away. So trying to get back to that space where we accept people need their space and they need their boundaries, and allow them to be with themselves so that you can have more intimate and loving connections with each other. So you're not like projecting all your stuff on people, right? And that takes responsibility in yourself, right? So you need to like set your boundaries and say, you know what, like Deanna said, like I need this time for myself so I can get grounded in who I am and release all the stuff from my day so I can actually be in a space for you. So just gonna touch base a little bit on what I say is become your own guru. So we have been taught from childhood that authority knows best for us. So like our parents know what is best for us because they're here to keep us safe. So now we've learned that everything is outside of us and to stop checking in here. And when we stop checking in here, what happens is our intuition gets turned completely down and we don't hear what is best for us. So now we start looking outside of us to get answers. And so that looks like, okay, you have discomfort in your body or whatever. Let's go to the doctor and let's see what the doctor says. How many times have you gone to the doctor and they tell you you've got this wrong with you and you just accept it? It's the same thing where I was talking about telling yourself you have something and you just keep recreating it. So as soon as the doctor tells you you have something going on with you, you do have it going on with you if you're accepting it. So I'm not saying that doctors don't go to the doctor. I'm not saying that doctors don't know anything, but when someone tells you that you have this going on for you, get connected to your body and see how that feels inside of you. But also get yourself into that loving space where you're not labeling yourself with that, where you're not recreating that every single day through your thoughts. Just you know, if it feels right for you, like, yes, this doctor is correct, then just trust that whatever plan that you're on is going to help you, and let it go. Let it go to the universe and just stop thinking about it and think about loving things instead. We need to be taking our power back in knowing who we are and knowing how, like, that we create our own reality and that we can literally heal ourselves. It's because we've given our power away to everybody externally, we've forgotten how to heal ourselves. If you think of like a baby who, you know, falls down and, you know, has a cut or whatever, mom kisses it and puts a band-aid on it and it heals. Do your cuts heal that fast now? No, probably not. Because the baby just lets it go and is like, okay, it's healed. Mom kissed it. We're good. We got love. So think of everything in your life that way. That it can be healed. But we want to hold on to it for some reason. Let's talk about how we can raise our vibration. We can raise our vibration through food. We can raise our vibration through sound. We can raise our vibration through color. Everything, like I said, has a vibration. So if you think about food, things that are heavy and very, very dense, think processed foods, those things are low frequency. So the way I see it is if you're really craving these like dense, heavy foods, then it's like a mirror of how you're feeling inside. So if you think about it, like in the summertime when the sun is shining, you're feeling really, really good, you go out to the restaurant, are you gonna get a burger and fries? Or are you gonna probably get like a salad? Let's talk not about being hungover. But what is your like go-to? Do you crave those like lighter foods? Yeah, because you're feeling good, the sun's out, you're having a good time, right? So just think about it that way, like when you're craving like ice cream and cookies and cakes and like all of these things, okay, well what's actually going on inside of me? I'm not going to tell you what to eat or anything, but I just want you to listen to your body. And why are you wanting these things? Like, are you feeling down on yourself? Are you not loving yourself? Are you angry? Or are you fearful? Are you anxious? Like, what's going on? Like, why are you wanting these foods? And then the other side of this is, if you eat these foods and you know they're bad for you, you are literally abusing your body by eating them. And I'm not saying I don't eat crappy food. And I'm not saying don't eat crappy food. It's a matter of shifting your belief around it. So not seeing it as a negative thing, because when you see it as it's bad for you and you're eating it, then you're not loving yourself. If you can just see it as an experience and a treat and I'm just gonna enjoy all these flavors, then there's nothing wrong with it. Send it love if you want, like just set the intention that, you know, this brownie is going to like provide me with all this energy and healing and it's full of love because, you know, my grandma made it for me, or, you know, like whatever you need to, like set the intention that it's full of love. And then you're eating love. Just maybe don't eat it every day. Yeah. What's that, Cindy?
Except when you do it every day all the time.
Yeah.
When you really love yourself.
Really love brownies. Do you? So I set it for you. Did your grandma make good brownies?
No.
Okay. Does anything else come up for anybody around that?
I like the whole idea about, you know, it's like setting the intention for your food. It's like, you know, if you worked hard and you know it's almost like, I deserve this. I worked hard for this brownie. And you tell yourself that too, and it's the best brownie you've ever had.
Yeah.
I say that, it's like, I deserve this.
But is
I
that
deserve this glass of wine.
But where is that like deserve coming from?
Well,
Because deserve is not really like a positive thing.
I worked hard for this.
How about just I am Julia and I am
I
love,
love
so I'm
you.
gonna eat it.
Yes.
This is love, I am love, we are vibrating together.
I love it.
Yeah. There you go. So if you want to raise your vibration, infuse your food with love if you're gonna eat low frequency stuff. And if you're, not wanting to do that, then just eat like lighter things, like lots of fruits and vegetables, things that when things are cooked, that's when the the high frequency energy comes out of it. So like you've heard a lot of people eat like, not a lot, but some people eat the raw food diet, right? Because it's high frequency, because it's still alive. So I'm not saying everybody go on a raw food diet or anything like that, because everything has its good and bad, right? You need moderation. Listening to your body in the moment and what it needs. And loving yourself even when you eat these things. So not shaming yourself for eating the things. And if you're eating it too much, then you need to look at, why am I eating this? Like, is it filling something inside of me? Like I had a client where, when she would eat cookies and stuff like that, it made her feel loved because she didn't have a good relationship with her mom. And then when her mom would bring her cookies, they'd sit down and they'd eat them together, so she felt that love. So she has that connection with the sweets. So take a look at, how is this actually making me feel when I eat this? What is it filling inside of me that I'm not giving myself? So that's the food. On the slides, it shows the sound frequencies. Has anybody heard of, I don't know if I can say this right, but solfeggio? This like sounds or like binaural beats or something like that. Anybody? No? It's like frequency music. So there's like frequencies put in the music. So a lot of the meditative music you've listened to, possibly, pop it up on YouTube, it has like frequencies put in there. So there's certain frequencies that will bring you into a loving state. So if you listen to them more often, it'll bring you into that state of love so your body can heal. There's also specific frequencies and specific colors that are related to certain organs in your body. So certain colors will heal certain organs when you look at them because it has a certain frequency. I'm not going to dive into that because it's pretty deep. But if you want to just, hop onto YouTube and type in love frequency meditation, and you can listen to that to help raise your vibe. Also, brain waves are very important. Now, you guys have heard, like alpha and gamma and beta and delta and all that kind of stuff. Certain brain waves are for certain things in our body, and alpha brain waves is one that I've been working with a lot, and it'd probably be good for you, with bringing your nervous system down and calming it down. It gives you mental clarity, but it'll also take you out of that like fight or flight or freeze state. So if you can just like look up alpha waves as well. I think it's delta, or is it theta? It's on the slide. One of them is actually a healing brainwave. It's probably one of the ones that you experience when you're actually sleeping, because your body is healing when it's sleeping. So you could always mimic that by listening to that brainwave as well. All the colors have different frequencies, so if you're a very visual person, you can stare at certain colors to change your frequency. I'm personally not, but Kaylee is one that she can look at it and it changes her whole world. So green is the color of love. And then also allowing the things to come up. and accepting them and loving them and releasing that emotional charge, not suppressing things anymore. And getting close to the end here, which is good. Just want to talk about chronic injury or pain. Does anybody have any chronic injuries or any pain? Okay. So, as we talked about before, so there's most likely a low frequency emotion or thought pattern that is going on that is actually attached to this injury or this pain. And it's a matter of you discovering what that is and find out, why are you holding on to it? Why are you still saying that same pattern over and over and over again to yourself? And maybe even just being conscious of that and that connection will be enough for you to release it and accept it. But what you could do is, when that thought comes up or that emotion comes up, that event, whatever that trigger is that is causing that chronic pain, just be with it. Don't try to suppress it anymore. Okay, so once we can shift it and almost think of it as like as a child, and you're the mother and you're just nurturing it. You're just being gentle with it. You're loving it for exactly who it is. So see your injuries and your pain as a little child and just love it. And then that will shift it, because you're bringing that love energy into your body. Letting go of the labels and stopping the shaming. Those are the big things with the healing. So what I do with how I help heal people is I help you to discover those things, bring those things up that are ready to be healed. When you do an energy healing session, those things will come up to your subconscious mind. So potentially you could feel old injuries in your body and you'd be like, oh, that's weird, I totally forgot about that injury. And then a thought comes up and you're like, or an emotion comes up and you're like, okay, so that needs to be healed. So all I do is I facilitate your body to get it back into a healing state. It's not magic. I mean, maybe it looks like magic, but it's just bringing that love into your body so that it can innately heal itself. Does that make sense?
Do you actually put your hands on the person when you're doing energy healing?
It's up to the person if they want it or not. Yeah. Energy healing can be done in person and it can be done from a distance as well. I actually had an acupuncturist tell me that he saw a study where people were sending love or praying for a person, that it was more beneficial when the person didn't know it, but they were receiving it, and they didn't know the person. So it would be like me just randomly sending healing to somebody in the hospital that I just don't even know. Like room 1412, I don't know. You know, just being like, I'm gonna send energy to that person, and they actually receive it. It's when we're fully connected to the person and they know they're receiving it, it's usually not as beneficial than when they don't know it. Not saying that it won't happen that way, but it's just very interesting that how powerful it is, just that intention and how connected we are. So, the things that I do, so I just either just regular energy healing. So you just be lying on the table and I'm channeling energy to different parts of your body. I do energy clearing, so that's working on pulling out those trapped emotions, those old beliefs, discovering what those are for you. If you're unsure what they are, then I can work through intuitively and get the answers for you so that we can go in and clear that out of your field. I also work with just mentoring clients, just working through this kind of stuff, working through their beliefs, adding energy healing as well. And using something called human design and gene keys. Has anybody heard of, I know Kaylee has anyone heard of human design before? Gene keys. So it's on the theory that we have certain lessons. There's like 11 lessons that we're here, core lessons we're here to learn. And based on when you were born, you guys have heard like astrology and all that kind of stuff. It's based on astrology and the I Ching, if anybody's ever heard of that before. But these lessons are actually embedded in our DNA, and they're related to like the chemical reactions and stuff in your body. And so there's, looking at the frequencies, there's 3 different levels. There's the shadow frequency, which is a very low frequency. So you will have this lesson inside of you, and when you're vibrating at a low frequency, that aspect, that shadow, is going to come out in you. But when you're vibrating at a high frequency of love, it's going to be shifting into a gift. So like I said, there's, on every trigger that you get, there's a gift on the other side. You need to see the love in it. There's always the yin and the yang. So these modalities dive in and they like literally give you like exactly what your life lessons are. And I know it can sound pretty like weird that based on when you were born, these things are like embedded in your body, but like I've been working through it and reading all the stuff about it, and it was like, wow, it's like the guy who wrote the book on Gene Keys knows me. Like, it's just bizarre. But we have 11 core lessons that we are here to learn about ourselves, and as we awaken to them, it awakens things in our DNA, which actually opens us to remembering who we are and loving ourselves. So it's going to heal you as you unlock these different shadows that are locked inside your body. So if you want to know anything more about Gene Keys and human design, let me know. Human design goes into teaching you how you are actually supposed to make decisions in your life, how you're supposed to get into alignment with what is right for you. How do you know this in your body, what is right for you? So it's really good because it helps you get connected to your intuition a little bit better. Yeah. So I think that's all I've got today. Yeah.
So with your energy healings, how young would you go with that? Like, and you say the infants, you do babies?
I would say you can't, like anyone can do babies.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, like I mean, like, so you do all this imprinting up to age 7. So if you don't want to mess them up, my kid's 9. Right? It's too late, Julia.
Well, no, like, I mean, that's a good time is like
Like,
start
do it
getting this
now.
stuff out now, right? Yeah. Because kids are so smart, like, yeah. And we can even pull her Gene Keys too, so you can see what her life lessons are, because there's certain things that are going to come out in you based on your age. Like there's what was imprinted on you when you were in your womb, what happens at age 7, and then what happens at 14 all the way up to 21. So you can see the things that she's going to be struggling with as she gets older. Yeah.
We're doing it.
So then you know how to, like, it's not like you can shift and change that. She's here, she needs to learn her things, but you can at least understand, you know, and help her and guide her better with those things.
So are these like lessons the same for everybody, or are they
No,
different?
every single person is different. Everyone's profile is different.
But you were talking about birthday, so depending when you're born. So if somebody's born the same day as you,
Based on the time you were
Yeah,
born
to
as
the-
well, and the city you were born in.
Oh, yes, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
from what
there
I
is-
gathered, like the more you know about your exact date and time and all that,
more
it really, the more accurate it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty life-changing, like, because with the Gene Keys, for instance, there's 3 different sequences, and the first one is discovering who you are here to be. And I don't mean like, okay, I am here to be an energy healer, but it's like, no, when I'm being an energy healer, or when I'm being a personal trainer, this is who I am. And so with mine is, I'm here to create things to empower people. And doing that, first I need to learn how to do that in myself, and then my aura, my energy is just going to exude that. So me getting in touch with who I am is going to shift and change people around me. And so diving into that, you'll be able to see who you're here to be. And then that'll, if people are, you know, trying to figure out like, well, I don't know what I want to do with my life, right? Like, helps you kind of like figure out, well, this is who I'm here to be, and this is what I like to do. So let's try to like make something out of that. And then the second one is to do with relationships. So it's discovering the relationship you have with you and bringing yourself back to self-love and seeing who you are in your relationships with everybody. What are the obstacles that you have? And so discovering those and recognizing them and loving them, then you can shift them and you can become more intimate with the people in your life. And then the last one is your to do with money, prosperity. Yeah, pretty cool.
I don't even
Push
know.
anything on anyone.
No.
When he's ready for it, like it'll happen. Like if he doesn't want to do energy healing, you can't make him do it because he will not receive any of it. He will be blocked to receive the healing.
From distance.
Yeah.
When they want.
And that's another area like with like PTSD and all that kind of stuff is I've personally experienced that with having the trauma that I've had, you know, in the last 3 years, my body wasn't actually in a space to receive healing. So I'd get all these things done and I couldn't receive it because my body's like, no, danger, danger, don't touch me, right? So like I had my Reiki teacher, you know, she had her hands on here because all my headaches and migraines, and like I was like tense and I could not relax. So there you go. If you're in that kind of space, it's kind of like almost a waste of time. So it's a matter of you need to get yourself out of that space where you're not triggered by all of these things and you're in a more relaxed state that you can heal, which I think I might do the next workshop on, talking about PTSD, anxiety, and healing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Would that interest anybody? Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. And it actually dives into, if you believe in like manifestation as well, if you are in fight or flight, you can't even receive anything good. You're repelling everything.